What's good, everybody? This your boy Blackout Jones, and today I'm gonna talk about running back by committee. And we all know what that means, running back by committee. It's just not one running back. It's just not two running backs. But sometimes it could be three running backs in this offensive system that we use at the University of Tennessee. It's been very successful ever since Josh Heupel stepped foot at the University of Tennessee. And with this upcoming season, who's to say that it's not going to be even more successful for what we have in the backfield? Because as we all know, in this system, you are not only going to get your touches, but you're going to get your yards, and you're definitely going to get your touchdowns. I'm going to talk about that and a whole lot more here at Just Shooting the Sports. And you know how I always like to say, let's get it. So as I was saying, running back by committee. And since Josh Heupel has been here, we've had a total of 15 running backs that have come through this offense, that have come through the Tennessee football program. And out of those 15, you know, the likes of Dylan Sampson, Jabari Smalls, Jaylen Wright, you know, D. Beckwith, Fred Orr, Antonio Malone, Laneith Whitehead, Patrick Wilk, who I don't even remember those guys, and Hunter Barnes. I don't even remember those guys being on the roster, but they were on the roster. And then, of course, Khalifa Keith, Cameron Seldon, Deshawn Bishop, Peyton Lewis, and Star Thomas. Now, of course, we all know about the big three: Jabari Smalls, Jaylen Wright, and, of course, Dylan Sampson, who had a wonderful year last year. But let me run down these stats, and this is going to show why the Tennessee backfield is one of the elite, not only in college football as a whole, but in the SEC alone. So let's run down these stats. Let's just start with Dylan Sampson, the guy that we had last year who played a pivotal role into us getting to the college football playoffs last year. For his career, he had 422 carries, 2,492 rushing yards with 35 touchdowns. He also caught 32 passes, for 293 yards, along with being the SEC Offensive Player of the Year and setting a single-season program record at UT with 1,491 rushing yards. And he also averaged an elite 5.9 yards per carry in his career. Now, 5.9 yards, man, he's a walking first down, at least after the second down. But he's getting you, great yardage. He's getting you close to the sticks. And, of course, he's performing at a high clip. Next up, we got Jabari Smalls. He had 419 carries, 2,122 rushing yards, along with 24 touchdowns. And he also caught 32 passes, something about that 32, with 247 yards, receiving yards, and then 2 touchdowns. Now, Jabari Smalls, if he could have stayed injury-free throughout his career at UT, he definitely would have had more yards than what he was able to get at the University of Tennessee, because he was one of the elite running backs. Quick, very elusive. He could get you with the juke, especially that game against Kentucky back in, what was that, 2021, when he made that juke to the DB out there in open field. It was either the DB or the linebacker, and made that man look crazy. I know they talked about him during film during that next week, but that's the type of back that he was. Very elusive. Can got the twitch, can move, can shake. He was one of the best, but his injuries kind of kept him from being that elite running back that we all knew and that we all saw that he was definitely, turning out to be. And then last but not least, Jaylen Wright. 368 carries, 2,297 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns, averaging 6.2 yards per carry. He also caught 30 passes for 171 yards. But in 2023, he was one of 6 FBS players that had multiple runs of 70 or more yards from the line of scrimmage. You're talking about elite speed. Understand something. I remember he broke 2 of those 70 yards. Matter of fact, 80 yards. One on Georgia, and then I want to say the other one against Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken, during that same year. That man, once he got through that hole, you wasn't going to catch him. Ain't nothing you could do. But once again, an elite running back. And I say this to say that. I say that to say this, excuse me. This year, we have Deshawn Bishop, Peyton Lewis, Star Thomas. Star Thomas, great running back from the University of Duke, who transferred to UT. Peyton Lewis out of Virginia. And then, of course, we have Deshawn Bishop. Now, Deshawn Bishop, if y'all saw last year, you can tell that, he's definitely going to be a threat this next year, definitely with Dylan Sampson leaving. Peyton Lewis, you can tell he's a bruiser, kind of reminds you of an Eddie George-like type of running back. He has the moves, he has the power, and he also has some speed. And then Star Thomas, I never really looked at his highlights, but I looked at just a little bit of his highlights. A great addition, I must say. So what that means is one of these running backs will get 1,000 yards. But understand something. These other running backs going to at least have over 500 to 600 yards rushing as well. They're all going to have touchdowns. Why? Because this offensive scheme that Josh Heupel has and has had since he's been here is running back friendly. We can sit here and people out there in the world can talk about how, this is a passing offense. And all they want to do is just throw down the field. They want to spread you wide. But it's the running game that makes this offense work. It's the running game that makes this offense click at a high level. Understand something. And then there's a stat that I heard that it blew my mind, that when we average 185 yards, we are 23-0. Let me say that again. When we average 185 yards, we are 23-0. Goose egg. So if we can get 185 yards against some of these great teams, instead of, well, I can say instead of, but some of these great teams, we're going to win. The proof is in the pudding. We're 23-0. We haven't lost. Averaging those yards. So that, when I heard that stat, that blew my mind. But I'm not worried about the running back position whatsoever. I think it's going to be a well-oiled machine. Everybody talking about the offensive line. We talk about the offensive line every year. Every year, we talk about the offensive line. Are they going to be good? Are they going to be bad? Are they going to just be, middle of the road? I remember in 2022, they talked about the offensive line so bad that it was like, we don't know what they're going to do. And we went 11-2. We shocked the world. We ended a 15-year losing streak to the Alabama Crimson Tide. We beat Florida that year. We still couldn't beat Georgia, but the offensive line did their job, especially with a first rounder like Darnell Wright. Now, speaking of first rounders, speaking of the NFL draft, understand something. When you're a running back in this offense, you go to the league. You're going to the league. Understand that. You're going to the league. So for all the running backs out there that haven't committed yet, Savion Hyder, hey, I think you might want to come check Tennessee out, because the proof is in the pudding, son. You get into the league, the offense is built for you to have a lot of success. A lot of success. None of these running backs that I'm talking about on here, especially the big three that I'm talking about, even Deshawn Bishop, great yards. Blocking is wonderful. Pass blocking, that's a different subject. But the running blocking that the offensive line does, they do it really well. So I just wanted to point that out there. I wanted to come on here. I wanted to talk about our running game. I want to talk about our running back by committee and how important it has been since Josh Heupel has been here. I mean, I saw the same thing at UCF when he was there. The running game was the running game. At the end of the day, the running game sets up the passing plays. And that's how we get down the field, and that's how we score, and that's how we make things work. So anybody else that may think differently about our running game, that's fine. That's your opinion. But me being a Tennessee fan and all the other Tennessee fans out there, I'm pretty sure they'll agree with me that the running game is what makes this thing work. And as long as that running game is working, everything else will take care of itself. But I just wanted to say that. And also, I just wanted to say, hey, if you haven't subscribed, for those that haven't subscribed, please do. It will help this channel out. For the ones that have subscribed, thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for taking a chance on me, allowing me to provide this content for you. I know there are others out there, but this is my opinion. This is what I think, and I appreciate y'all coming here and really, welcoming me with open arms and really, taking a look and an ear, giving an ear out, for what I have in store, for what I have in store in regards to the University of Tennessee, and of course other sports that I talk about here and there too. But anyway, this is your boy Blackout Jones. This is Just Shooting the Sports, and as I always say, go Big Orange, go Vols. I'm off the leash now. I'ma go get it now. I'm all gas, no brakes down.